Now there are basically four ways in generating the primary key. Now we have already seen this identity when the database itself auto increments a primary key. The first one is auto, which is really not recommended for production. It's only good for development and prototyping. Basically, auto gives a free hand to the JPA provider to decide whichever strategy it prefers. So we have already seen the identity strategy. If instead of this I make it auto, now the provider can decide whichever strategy. It can just pick up any strategy which it finds suitable for generating the primary key, which is, as you can realize, it's only good for prototyping. The sequence strategy is for databases which support sequences like Oracle. So let's try example of sequence. So for this you have to use another annotation, which is sequence generator, and we have to provide it two specific things: name mygen and the sequence name of staff. Let me just complete it first, and I'll tell you what it is. So basically the name is only used for hooking up the generator to the generated value annotation. This is just our created name. Now this is the actual sequence which exists in a database. Say in Oracle, for this table you have created the sequence name staffsic, so that name you have to mention over here. So unlike auto and identity generation strategies where we are only using generated value in sequence generation, you have to use this additional annotation. Now let's understand the fourth strategy, which is table. Basically this identity or sequence depends on the specific features of the database, whether the database supports identity or whether it's a sequence. A table is basically database agnostic, or in other words you can use it with any database. We have to create a new table whose only purpose will be to store the primary keys. The table can be utilized for storing the primary keys of more than one table. In fact, if you are planning to use a strategy, you can make all the tables in your design to use this strategy, and this table will show the primary keys for all your tables. So let's consider this table staff. Now there are three records with primary keys 1 2 3. So for this table we have stored 3 over here. Next time when the provider wants to add new record, it will store 4 over here and then add the record with the primary key 4. Similarly, for the case table there are only 2 records right now, so the latest primary key is mentioned over here. Whenever the API provider wants to add a new record, it will increment this over here and then add a record over here. Now from this diagram itself you can understand whenever entity wants to use table generator strategy, it has to mention three things. The first thing is the name of the primary key column. The second thing you have to mention is the name of the value column, and the third thing you have to mention is its related primary key value. So basically for staff table we'll be mentioning this, this and this. For case table we'll be mentioning this, this and this. These three names you have to mention for table generation strategy in case table. ID generation table I already created in our database. The primary key column name is gen name, the column value is gen value, and this, the first record, will be the name of our first generator. I already coded the table generator. Basically the name column, just like before, is just used to hook up with the generator, so it's the same name over here. Then for primary key column name and value column name, we are using the names mentioned in the database. This is the primary key column name, this is the value column name, and this is the primary key value which is mentioned over here, primary key column value. Plus the main thing we forgot, which is the table name, which is the table to be used for generation of the IDs, or basically for storing the generated IDs. Now let's see if our table generation strategy works. Go to my tester. So again I'll be persisting object. Let's see if it works or not. Let's run the application. And here is the new record using table generation strategy.